Following his losses to Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder seems to have entered a twilight period in his long fighting career, even though he's very far from retirement. Lined up for him is Joseph Parker, a New Zealander who has entered his 30s without a world title belt since his bitter loss to Anthony Joshua in 2018. There can be no doubt that he wants his titles back, even if this return journey is going to be harder. Here's all the action that led up to this fight. Deontay Wilder keeps on cruising. Deontay LaShawn Wilder was born on October 22, 1985, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Growing up black in Alabama had its own set of debilitating issues, but he did a good job of avoiding being consumed by gang violence and cruel kids on the street. It also didn't help that his mother left him and his dad, Gary Wilder, when he was just 9, but he continued on. He found his calling in sports during school, and just like many other kids like him, he dreamed of being a professional American football player or basketball player owing to his huge frame. In 2004, Wilder graduated from Tuscaloosa Central High School to join Shelton Community College, but life had a way of treating him cruelly at the time. One thing led to another, and he found himself in an early marriage, and he became a father to a daughter who suffered from spinal defects. He dreamed of being a professional football or basketball player and continuing his education at the University of Alabama, but all that had to go. He had no choice but to get into work as soon as possible. Wilder chose boxing as the means of earning money after working at IHOP didn't help. He started boxing in October 2005 when he entered Sky Boxing Gym in Northport, Alabama, and began training under JD's. Due to his bitter struggle with depression and anxiety regarding the path his life took, he was unable to see that a great life awaited him in boxing. He just had to give training is all. And that's what he did, as he began taking his first amateur bouts to do exactly what he set out to do: earn money. He began to show his promise unlike many others starting out, and by 2007, he upset the favorites to win both the National Golden Gloves and the U.S. Championships at 201 pounds, 91 kilograms. His Golden Gloves journey saw him defeat the highly touted cadet world champion Isaiah Thomas, a southpaw from Detroit, and David Thompson of Brooklyn in the finals. As for the U.S. Championships that year, he defeated Qantas Graves and won the final 31-15 over southpaw James Zimmerman of San Jose, California. Such stunning victories in the heavyweight division with such dominance allowed him to try his hands at the Olympic trials. Impressively, he won it by defeating Qantas Graves again. Next, it was time for the Olympic qualifiers proper. Early in 2008, he scored a career-best win by edging out World Championship silver medalist and future Olympic champion Rakhim Shakiev in Russia. He then definitively qualified for the Olympics by beating Davis Julio 6-5, Jorge Quinones from Ecuador in double countback, and Brazilian Rafael Lima 6-5 at the qualifier. He had been taking part in other competitions during this time, and in a Russia-USA duel match on February 29, 2008 in Novosibirsk, Russia, Wilder was knocked out by Evgeny Romanov. This was his worst defeat until that point, but the show had to go on because he was about to represent the United States in the 2008 Olympics. In the Olympics, he started out by defeating Abdelaziz Toubalini of Algeria and Mohamed Ajarou of Morocco, before losing to Clementine Russo of Italy in the semifinal to earn a bronze medal. Winning a bronze medal in the Olympics would have been an unthinkable prospect just a few years before that, and knowing this, he knew he had to go pro. So he did in 2008, scoring a knockout victory over Ethan Cox in his debut. From 2008 all the way up until 2012, he knocked out opponents one after another before he could get a chance at a title. His first chance at a title came in 2012 when he faced Kelvin Price for the WBC Continental Americas title. Price stood no chance, being knocked out in the third round. Things got real, and the Deontay Wilder that we're all familiar with truly came into being in 2015 when he won his world title for the first time, defeating Bermane Stiverne for it with the 12-round unanimous decision victory. From then on, he would defend his title for an impressive 10 times. Bermane Stiverne came back for his titles 2 years later, and this time, he stood no chance at all. He was knocked out in the first round. Deontay Wilder would truly meet his match in the form of Tyson Fury, as their first fight resulted in a hotly contested and a controversial draw. Wilder seemed to have the upper hand over Fury, as the latter was knocked down multiple times, but Fury managed to get in truly devastating hits. Following successful defenses against Dominique Breazeale and Luis Ortiz, Tyson Fury came back again for his belt. This time, the Gypsy King was too much to handle, and Wilder bowed out on a 7th-round TKO loss, unfortunately. The rematch played out similarly, although Wilder fared slightly better, knocking down Tyson Fury a few times. This three-fight rivalry has been one of the most exciting in recent boxing history, and yes, Tyson Fury did get the better of it. No one can ever forget the truly brutal verbal attacks Fury launched at him before and after fights. But it can't be argued Deontay Wilder's reign as the first American heavyweight champion since Hasim Rahman was child's play. He re-energized the weight division for the USA and had 5 straight years of successful title defenses. With the first-round knockout win over Robert Helenius behind him going into the fight against Joseph Parker, he's definitely nearing the end of his career. But it doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park for Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker makes his bet. Joseph Dennis Parker was born on January 9, 1992 in South Auckland, New Zealand, to Dempsey and Sala Parker. His father Dempsey was named after world heavyweight champion American boxer Jack Dempsey. Parker grew up in the large suburb of Mandurah in Auckland and attended Marcellin College in the suburb of Hillsborough. They had the immigrant experience in New Zealand as they come from the small island nation of Samoa, joining the already large number of Samoans that lived in New Zealand in the early 1980s. Joseph Parker can trace his roots to Falula Village on the main island of Upolu, Samoa, where his mother hails from. Needless to say, the Parker family is immensely proud of their Samoan heritage, with Joseph Parker speaking and celebrating in the Samoan language after his fights. Parker had a fascination with boxing from an early age, thanks to the heroes David Tua and Marcelino Massot. He was encouraged by none other than his father Dempsey Parker to take up boxing, since from the age of 3, he enjoyed jabbing into his father's palms, and while he was still a young boy, Dempsey gave him boxing gloves and a punching bag. His formal training and the journey he's on currently started when he was 10 years old, which was when he joined the Papa Toto Boxing Club to pursue and learn more about the sport. He was trained by Grant Arkell and former boxer Manny Santos. Their faith in young Joseph Parker paid off big time, as he went on to take boxing seriously with the intent of creating a successful professional career in it. His competitive amateur journey started in 2009 with a spirited attempt to win the New Zealand Golden Gloves Championship. He managed the tournament very well until he faced a formidable Junior Fa in the finals and lost. It was a good start, and then he became a 2-time New Zealand amateur heavyweight champion in 2010 and 2011, as well as winning several amateur tournaments and scoring some notable wins on the international circuit. Many of these international fights would take him to India, Azerbaijan, and Australia, among others, with the 2010 outings involving a spirited attempt to clinch victory for New Zealand in the 2010 ABLE World Youth Championships. Since he'd been crafting a moderately successful amateur career, Parker decided to go for the Olympics. He competed in the 2012 New Zealand Olympic trials. He had a bout against Patrick Mailata, which he won. However, he narrowly missed qualification for the 2012 Summer Olympics. 2012 would be his last year competing as an amateur, but he took part in Serbian competition that year. This was the 2012 Beogradski Padnik, where he had a successful run. He won his semifinal bout against Eric Pfeiffer. In the final, he faced Joan Lind and won the match to become champion, marking his first victory in an international amateur tournament. Of course, it was time to go pro next. He had his debut against fellow New Zealander Dean Garmansway, who he defeated with the second-round TKO. The then 48-9 South African boxer Frans Botha would represent a real test for him during the early stage of his professional career. But after a first round that seemed to go nowhere, he ended the fight with the second-round TKO. His fight for the WBO world title being scheduled against Andy Ruiz sent him into the global boxing mainstream for the first time. But before that, he had won several regional titles against opponents who weren't slouches at all. This included the WBO Oriental Africa and Oceania titles, as well as the PABA, OPBF, and New Zealand titles. After defeating Andy Ruiz for the vacant WBO title, Parker became the first heavyweight boxer from either New Zealand or the Pacific Islands to win a major world championship. He had reached the height of his career up to this point before facing Anthony Joshua in 2018, marking his first defeat. He was champion no longer, and he would also lose to Dylan White in his very next fight. Facing a career that threatened to go downhill, he stuck to his guns and his Samoan courage, managing an impressive victory over old nemesis Junior Fa and Derek Chisora. While he did lose by knockout to Joy Joyce, the year 2023 has been very good to him so far, managing 3 high-profile victories. During his reign as WBO champion, he reached a peak active heavyweight ranking of 3rd by the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board. He's no small fry, and he threatens to make Deontay Wilder regret this matchup. Fighters compared. Comparisons between fighters in the heavyweight division these days appears to be rather simple, but there are important points we can't miss. Starting with Deontay Wilder. Wilder, of course, is very well known for his power punching and slugger style of combat. His dynamite hands make short work of any opponent due to the sheer demoralizing effects the impacts can have. The boom-boom of his punches ring out, and they've given him many of his TKO wins. His overhand right is particularly feared by his opponents, which comes at them like a whip to cause maximum damage. Combined with this very long reach, it's only a matter of time before you're inevitably hit by Wilder in a weak spot. No matter how good your defense may be, it's confirmed that he will find a way to break it or slip past it. Wilder also makes use of his long reach to place shots from a distance. He plants his feet, establishes range with the jab, and then follows through with the heavy right hand. The other thing he's got working for him is his tendency to use feints to throw his opponents off, or to help break their guard with his usual follow-up combinations. Often, his only weakness other than his body conditioning is that he sometimes seems to get caught off guard when combinations are thrown. However, he generally manages to overcome opposition by overwhelming them with the rush or by landing the perfect power shot. Joseph Parker, on the other hand, has gone through great transformative changes throughout his career, particularly in his last 2 fights against Derek Chisora. His longtime trainer Kevin Berry had emphasized a more laid-back and technical style, whereas his new trainer Andy Lee has been looking to get Parker to emphasize the strength of his developed muscular physique a lot more. Nevertheless, Parker's one to adapt his style and pace based on the opponent he's fighting. If there's anything to learn from his loss to Anthony Joshua all those years ago, it's focused on improving his defenses greatly. He'll no doubt need this for the notoriously long-reached Deontay Wilder. Let's see how this goes. Can Joseph Parker defeat this titan and get himself back on track to becoming a world champion again? Or will Deontay Wilder score his first conquest before making an impressive comeback? Leave us a like and subscribe if you agree with our assessment of this showdown. We'll see you again when the dust settles on the canvas.